So let's bring on my good pal Matt from Vectorworks. Hi, Matt. How's it
Hey,
going?
Steph. How's it going? I'm doing good. You?
Good. This has been a fantastic day of content, and I am so thrilled that we are ending it strong.
Yeah, definitely.
So, talk to me a little bit about ConnectCAD and a little bit
Mhm.
about why we're having this session. There's a lot of frequently asked questions out there, and I'm really excited that we're going to kind of be able to just sit down and answer all of those in one place.
Sure. So, just to kind of start off with, that for the people who don't know what ConnectCAD is. So, ConnectCAD is an add-on module for Vectorworks Spotlight. So, the three main arms of the company, as I like to say it, is the bedrock of Vectorworks is fundamentals, your 2D, 3D drafting tools. Then you have the three branches of the company. You have Architect, Landmark, and Spotlight. Spotlight is specifically for entertainment users. And then ConnectCAD is an add-on specifically for Spotlight that allows for, was it systems integrators to create schematic diagrams, create your rack layouts, still working in 2D and 3D if necessary, but we also give you tools for checking your errors and creating detailed reports generated by us so you can get to, was it quote faster or get to work faster. As I like to say, it's just like we're finding a lot of use case scenario for systems integrators using ConnectCAD for people in the live entertainment industry. So this is kind of a session of the frequently asked questions we've had people come to us about either at trade shows or on our webinars, our coffee breaks and whatnot. So this is kind of demystifying a couple of the like little details just to get you drawing faster.
Perfect. So I kind of want to go ahead and get started.
Great.
So a lot of users, and I think this is really, really going to be like a far-reaching question that we're starting out with.
Mhm.
They want to make ConnectCAD fit in their specific workflow. That's really important to them. So could you kind of walk us through how to customize CCD devices and equipment? What does that look like? And if you've
Sure.
got any best practices for those modifications, I would also love for you to show us how to do
Yeah.
that right now.
So yeah, I made sure came prepared today. So we'll start. ConnectCAD devices, schematic devices, and equipment items are essentially in the realm two separate things. So I'll split it up. So so right here, this is a ConnectCAD schematic device. So basically, this holds a lot of the information when you're creating those schematic diagrams, along with manufacturer information, physical information, whatnot. As you can see, all of this is grayed out. It's because I've created an equipment item, a 3D equipment item that attaches to it. So once you create a 3D equipment item, basically straddling the 2D and the 3D universe, you can't change any of that information. But I'll go with the graphical things first. So the first thing, the device label, which is this little blue thing right here. I get a lot of users coming to me saying like, hey, I want this to fit a certain standard and whatnot. Or I'm coming from one program to this program. I need it to match this standard that my company has had for years. And we totally understand that. So the thing to remember about a ConnectCAD device is it's basically a plugin object filled with a bunch of symbols and objects. So if I have a device on my drawing layer, if I double click on it, it just launches me into an edit screen. And you'll see like the outer bounding box, all it is a polygon. All the sockets that things attach to, it's a socket device. But the uh, device name is a symbol inside of the device. So basically, it's all built upon symbols and resources inside of things that you can change and work on. So now you'll see that this is named device label generic. So let's say, hey, I want to use I want to make it my own or do something different. Um, you can do it a couple of ways. If you select the device and you see symbol right here, I can actually change it to something different. So I can change it to any one of the numerous ones that we send out standard with ConnectCAD. But let's say you want to make something your own. Um, what we say to a lot of people is you then have to go into ConnectCAD, go to your resource manager. And if you go into your libraries, you can go down to defaults under ConnectCAD, device and device labels and device symbols, you'll see a lot of these kind of the default stuff there. if you go into your actual active file, same thing, under device symbols, you'll see a lot of the kind of defaults when you either bring in ConnectCAD devices for the first time or you use a ConnectCAD template. These are the things that are there. So if, let's say, I wanted to change how this device label center looks, or the generic, I'll change the generic. Go here and hit Edit 3D Components. Oh, my bad. It's Edit 2D Components on this symbol. So let me exit out of that real quick. Edit 2D. So you'll see here is all of that information. So in this symbol, everything is class-based. So you'll see there's a class of CC device display tag, the description, and then these two text identifiers below it are for location. The first one is for room, and then the second one holds rack and rack unit and slot information in case it's a module device. So let's say, just for giggles, I want to change the color of these from blue to dark purple. And then I want to just say, like, all right, well, I don't want both of these to be Arial. I'm just going to use DIN Pro as an example, just to change it up. Once I hit exit the symbol, it's going to go into my document and find all of the instances of that symbol and change it. Now you see that was very fast because I'm just editing the instance of the symbol from its base, and then ConnectCAD and Vectorworks as a whole just goes back and just edits all of that. So one, that's a great way to kind of give your schematics a little bit more flair, a little bit more identity, right? Now, when it comes to socket labels, a lot of people say, like, hey, like, we like these sockets, but we don't like, hey, the pink coloring, we this and that. It's like, okay, it's kind of the same sort of thing. Underneath the socket in the OIP, you'll have graphic style and label style. Now, if I change label style from _text to user1, you'll see the text got larger because these are pointing back to default content inside of that comes with ConnectCAD. So it's under, let's see, the device stuff. So what I recommend to a lot of users is, if you want it to make your own user, like if you don't want to mess with the standard text one, set it to user1, because the moment I set it to user1 and I exit the device and I go into my resource manager and I go to, I think it was under nested symbols, and where is it? Let me find it real quick. This is always the drawback. I make everything so clean, and then when it's like, all right, time to look at it,
and then when the pressure is on,
yeah, the pressure is on. Let's see. So there it is. So if you see right here, it's under symbol parts. My bad. So under symbol parts, you'll see socket text user 1 _ right. The thing to remember is, if you want that instance of text to be different, so if I go in and do the same thing, edit the 2D, you'll see that it's based off of the 0, 0 insertion point. So if you want, let's say, the text not to be pink, let's say I want it to be orange, for instance. I exit it, you'll see it's now changed to orange. But the thing to remember is it will only change the socket text for user 1 right. You then have to go to each individual one and change the socket text for the left, the top, the bottom. So what we recommend to a lot of users is, if you're opening up ConnectCAD for the first time, don't jump in immediately and I'm going to start sketching out my first schematic and then go back and make everything look how I want. Set up a template file first. Bring over your old files from your old program and have it right next to you, and you're just working on creating those template assets for yourself. So the moment you go to make your first ConnectCAD template or your first ConnectCAD schematic, you're not having to go back and change everything. You've just set it up the first time. Everything's nice and easy. So that's the biggest thing we say to a lot of people is you got to start walking first before you full sprint into a project with it.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, keep going.
Oh yeah. So the next part is, so we've changed kind of how we want maybe the device label to look, the socket labels to look. Now let's go ahead and just change kind of the graphical look of the device. So you can do things what's called image to device. So this device itself is, if I double click on it, we're in the edit device of the window itself. But if I say I'm going to, then for this QSC core, I'm going to say, I'm going to just drag in, I'll just drag in an ISO image of it. If I drag in a PNG into the file, you actually see it'll allow me to drop in a PNG image. And let me just line it up really quickly. And I exit the device, and now that image is now associated with this device. So I can move around this device. So same thing, like I say, where you're generating all your content first time. If you have that bit of content from, let's say, was it things you use all the time in every install, setting up this thing, these sort of things on your schematic makes it a lot faster. The next thing we talk about, linked text. Now, linked text is basically, it is looking at any of the information inside of your schematic device, whether that means from either the device itself or a record format, because it's all based off of the data that's available to you. So let me double check and see if I have a record format. Yeah, I have the device network record format attached to this. Even though this device might not necessarily have an IP address, it's kind of just an example. So if I double click on it and I select the text tool and just add in, see a piece of text that says IP, and I will duplicate it real quick. And there we go. And just move it over. Okay, so you'll see in the shape pane, if I scroll down to the bottom, there's a little check mark that says ConnectCAD text link data. So the first one, I'm going to leave it unchecked, but the second one, I'm going to just say, hey, check, and it's going to ask me for the information that I want to look inside the device or attach to the device. So the IP address, and I hit OK, and the moment I exit the device, you'll see it's now added an IP address to it. Now, what's great about this is I can change this information from this tab right here, and it will automatically change on my schematic. But what's even great is later on when you create worksheets and reports referencing this data, I can actually go into the report, and some of the information I can actually change on my report, and it changes my schematic. So I don't have to go back and forth checking my information. So it's a great way to do that. And then one last thing I want to talk about is linked symbols. So linked symbols, think of, let's say you're doing a project and you want to do something with, you want to mark out phasing, like you're installing certain pieces of equipment at different times. So I created some symbols for this. So let me go, and you go to the symbol insertion tool, and then you select a symbol. So let me find it. So I just made a phase default that has nothing associated with it. So I'll just plop it right here. So this is a symbol inside of the device. Now what I wanted to reference is also a record format. So I'll attach the record format called building phase. And you'll see right here in my building phase, I have 3 phases: pre-build, phase 1, and phase 2. Okay, so I've got a record attached and I've got a symbol. So I'll go back into the device, I'll select this item, and under shape, there is linked data. So I'll hit link, and I'm going to link it to building phase, and now I have to establish the symbol linkage. So I go to linkage, and by value. So you'll see there's nothing in here. So I'll add it for the first time. The pre-build, I'll set, hey, is just the default. It's in white, so I know. And then I'll add 2 more. And it automatically reads the record format to see, like, oh, well, under phase, I see pre-build 1 and 2. Great. Now all you have to do is click on here. Oh, and let me find my phase 1. And my phase 2, and I hit OK. And so now the signal linkage is in place. So watch what happens when I go to my data pane and change it from phase 1 to phase 2. So it automatically changes this. So it gives a kind of great graphical representation of, all right, how I set things in place. Now, at the end of the day, when this is all said and done, when you've set up your devices how you want them, you have two options right now in Vectorworks. You have under, if I select the device, you have save as symbol and save to database. So the way I structure it with people is saving as a symbol allows you to hold that resource in your active file and share it with others. Now, so if you are a solo practitioner of ConnectCAD in your company, you can do either save as symbol and just have it in an active file and save that file and use it elsewhere, or save to database. Now, save to database basically takes the information and saves it to your local hardware ConnectCAD text file. There are some improvements coming to Vectorworks ConnectCAD that is going to make things a lot more symbol-based. So I, on a personal note, I like to use save as symbol because to me, it's easier to edit things down the line using a save as symbol way of thinking. So now we get to the, well, this is all good in 2D, but what if I want things to look like the real thing in 3D, right? Because we want to show pretty pictures to our prospects, to our clients, whatnot. So here's an example of when you create an equipment item from a schematic device, typically it will take the dimensions of the schematic device and basically draw you a gray box. If it's a rack item, it will draw on rack ears for you. So it looks like this. So what you can do is I just grab some and I crop some images of the front panel. And what I can do is if I just grab them real quick and double click on them. So we're now inside of the equipment item. If I just paste that, there it is. It's going to like put it off to the side, of course. Let me find it myself and drag it into place. So I'm going to drag it on top nearby. So, and then let me set, what is it? Screen view to the left. And let me put it downward a bit. There we go. Okay, so I want to put it on the front panel of it. So I'm going to take the item and I'm going to go to Modify, Rotate, 3D, and then I'm going to basically select the rotation angle and what plane I'm working on. So this gives you a nice handy dandy, the on-screen view control gives you a nice handy dandy little guide. So I'm going to do a rotation angle of 90 degrees on the next mouse click and the working plane of Z. And then I just hit the bottom center. My bad. Let's see, rotate 3D, not the Z, the X, my bad. So there, we've now flipped it up into place. And now I can take this item and then just drag it over to the front. And as you'll see, as I exit out of the equipment item, I now have a front plate image, which is great. Thing to remember is this equipment item is only associated with that original schematic device. So if you want this to be a sort of thing with all of your equipment items, you would have to go in either one by one or change this, the name or whatnot. So you kind of have to do everything one by one or do everything a little bit haphazardly. Another way to do it is if you click on the equipment item and you scroll down to the bottom, there's a little section for symbol. Clicking symbol, what that means is you can basically create a 3D symbol with all of the graphical attributes you want and basically wrap it around the equipment item like a candy wrapper. So if I click it, you'll see, or if I go here and say like, hey, none, I just drew basically a box for this. And then I just went in and grabbed the dimensions, grabbed some rack gears, grabbed the imagery, add some graphical things. And then this makes my workflow a lot faster because I can just create the equipment items and then just grab everything as a symbol and knock it right on. So I think that answers kind of sort of the ways you can customize it for now. Is there anything that we're seeing that before we move on to the next question?
I do not have any questions from the audience at this time. So do you want to talk about kind of like speeding up device creation using existing, like, do you want to talk about like why speeding that up is important and why that's more efficient for users than starting completely from scratch?
Right. So here's an example that I created. So we have a Green Hippo Boreal Plus and a Boreal Mark II. So you have two separate items. So you kind of have the questions to ask yourself. Do you already have it as a resource? Meaning, hey, I've used the Boreal Plus, but I've now just upgraded to the Mark II. So do you already have it as a resource? So you have kind of three options you can do. You can either just drop in a basic ConnectCAD device and just start from scratch, add in sockets, give it more information, whatnot. You can just build it from ground up. You can drop in your old symbol resource, that device, and then you just double click on it and just start changing things. Was it either placement, start changing the sockets that are associated with it, and then change any of the dimension, the weight, whatever. All of this information you can change. If you change it and then change the name and whatnot, and you hit save as symbol, so I'll just call it MK2 for now, and I hit save as symbol, it's going to ask you, what do you want to name this symbol? And it's pulling that as the make and then the model number. If you hit OK, it's going to save it into your active file. If you hit save to database, it's going to open up the device builder and pretty much the same thing. It's going to be like, all right, I want to make a new make and model, but it's going to save it in your user folder. So it saves it to your local instance of ConnectCAD. So once again, if you're a solo practitioner, device database is good. What is it? If you're working on a team, it's best to save as a simple resource. For the time being, I would recommend to people save it as a simple resource because of changes we have coming in the future. Now, the third option we have is kind of similar to that of option 2, is if you go to the device builder and you just click on anywhere in your design, and then I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to find that Boreal, but I'm going to say like, all right, well, I want to start adding some things to it. So I look over here and I see some of the different things. For time's sake, I'm just going to add one more set of sockets, or I'm going to just change one quick thing. So let's see. I'll just add some USB ports. So I just hit add, and I'm going to say, all right, 4 in, and then USB. And then I'm going to make sure, yep, USB B. And then as you can see, it's now actually added in those sockets in my preview right here. So what's great about this is it's like, okay, I've made a device. What I can then do from here is I can either create a temporary device and put it on my design layer and change any graphical things I want. Add a picture, add that linked text or linked symbol or whatnot. Or if I just want a device with sockets on it and this and that, I just go up to there, new make and model, and it's going to ask me, where do I want to put it, what model, and what category can it be found under. So now you have these kind of further branching avenues to make your own things. Because like what we say to a lot of people and everyone in the AV event industry is that every few months, a manufacturer is coming out with the newest piece of equipment. And sometimes it's hard for anyone to catch up. So what we say to a lot of users is, since the process is so simple, it's that easy to just kind of make your own library of devices and what's great about that is you make the devices how you want to look, rather than um, rather than saying like wait on us to make it. You can just
Okay.
make all your own things. And was it in an afternoon sort of thing?
Perfect. We had some audience questions come in. They kind of
Mm-hmm.
came all in a flood, so I'm going to ask all of
Sure.
all of those kind of one by one rapid fire. So,
Yeah.
the first one I'm looking at is from Corey. He said, "Are there any manufacturer libraries available to download rather than create blocks?"
So any was it so manufacturer libraries, you would have to go to the manufacturer themselves. I do know we've been having some conversations with manufacturers to kind of they create the content because of their massive libraries. So we are in chats with manufacturers. Unfortunately, that's sort of a conversation of like if you're a current user and you say like, hey, like I want to know if so and so has that information. That might sometimes be a conversation of reaching out to the manufacturer saying like, hey, do you have this? Because
Yeah.
it's in the ConnectCAD world, it's not only you can be dealing with the 2D schematic, but you can also be dealing with the 3D. And some was it in order for content to be in the Vectorworks libraries, manufacturers have to sign off saying that hey, we're okay with this being in our libraries. So that's kind of the question to that. I know it's not like oh yeah, was it where can we get all this stuff? What we try to do as best as we can is at least on the Spotlight side, if you go to the download content side, this will open up a portal that has all of the downloadable content, and then we're furthering conversations with manufacturers to get more manufacturers um, interested in being a part of the Vectorworks libraries.
Okay. And then next question is from Scott. Does Vectorworks offer a ConnectCAD subscription level to create and maintain a library of devices?
So the subscription levels, how they are right now, is you have to get Spotlight with the ConnectCAD add-on. So that's the only. So, well, I lie. There's two levels to it. You can get Spotlight plus ConnectCAD, which is one level of cost for subscription, whether it be monthly or annual. Or you can get Design Suite, which gives you Spotlight, Architect, and Landmark, and then you have to add on ConnectCAD to it. So if you just are maintaining a library of devices, the lowest cost one would be Spotlight plus ConnectCAD to do it that way.
Gotcha. And kind of going back to the device editor,
Mm.
Ty asked, is there a way to save socket templates you can add in the device editor for adding sockets quickly to existing blocks beyond copy and pasting? Copy and paste doesn't play well with saving the position in the device editor.
Mm-hmm. So with those socket templates, Ty, so if I go to back to this. So is there a way to save socket templates you add in the device editor? So the device editor is based, so the placement of sockets in your file is all dependent upon your grid settings. So if you see right here, my grid settings are set to 1/4 inch. That means every 1/4 inch when I'm placing sockets, will basically set another socket. So the best advice I can give Ty is when you set up a template file, is making sure your grid settings are set that way as well. If you're seeing differences in that, I would definitely reach out to customer support of if you're seeing like differing was it um, grid setups. I've also seen users who maybe like will copy a device from one file into another, and the grid settings are different, and it will still maintain the grid settings of the previous file and not your new file. So that's kind of where you have to go. Everything is based off of the grid settings right here. Is the best way to look at it.
And then this one's from Corey. If you make changes to a symbol/library and open up a drawing created with the original symbol, will it retain the original symbol, update the symbol to the current version, or prompt you for what to do?
So if you update, so let's say you have file A and file B. Okay. So file A is your legacy file. You made a symbol in file A. You're now working on file B. You want to use the symbol from file A in file B. You're going to import that symbol from A into B. But if you change A, like the symbol in A, after you've already imported it into B, it's not going to automatically change in B. It's basically looking at the resources of your active file is what you're changing. So what I would recommend is if you want everything kind of basically to change based off of like what you want, I would recommend, I think that was Corey who said that. So Corey, what I would recommend is you have your template file, and let's say your template file only has like certain things when it comes to like your sheet layers, your line types and whatnot, this and that. But if you want something just for your devices, I would create a favorites file. So basically it's whatever your active file and just hit add selected file to favorites. That will save it in basically your user folder of Vectorworks as a favorites file, and just basically start editing your devices from there. So then if you want to say, oh, well, I'm in a new file now and I want to use this resource from my favorites, just go in and edit your favorites file full of your devices that you like, and you're getting the most up-to-date resource that way. If you're working with a group of people, you could also do a work group folder. Basic premise is if you go under, say, Vectorworks, I believe it's Vectorworks, not project sharing. User folders. Under user folders, work group and project folders, basically you set up a linkage to Dropbox or Vectorworks Cloud Services or any other cloud services that is just a folder of resources that you or your colleagues can just drop in files, and it will see those files in your workgroup folder. And I mean Vectorworks files in your workgroup folder. So let's say you make all the devices, your colleagues do all the line types, another colleague manages kind of any other differing resources. Create a workgroup folder so everyone has basically the latest resources available to them, rather than going to someone, hey, give me that file on a thumb drive or email it to me. Just, hey, it's in the workgroup folder and you're pulling from there.
Perfect. They're really coming in now. So have another one from Levi. Levi asks, once you create your own device, how can I go back and change the category it's saved as?
So Levi, what you'd have to do is you would have to, you would have to pull that same device and do new make and model and change it. And then the other one that's in the incorrect, let me just open up the device builder. You would have to pull the one that's bad, pull it up in the device builder and hit the trash can symbol. That's the only way to get rid of the bad one out of your user folder. Or you can go into the text file and find your one device in the text file and delete it from there. But I would not recommend that wholeheartedly. I would just keep everything either in the device builder that way.
Okay. And then this one's from Alejandro. Alejandro says, can you create a central database file that multiple designers can use and share?
Yep. Alejandro, that's basically if you make a template file and then put that template file on the workgroup folder that everyone has access to, that everyone has Vectorworks has access to, and they add that workgroup folder from preferences, user folders, and add it here. And then as long as, if I close all of this, you'll see my workgroup libraries with all of my colleagues. That resource is there. That's a central place. And inside of that, central place, you can have multiple different files of one person working on devices, one person working on line types, one person working on graphics, and save them all as resources inside the resource manager that anyone else can pull. So if you want to like have a central database, do it that way.
Perfect. And we've gotten in a couple of interoperability questions that I thought would be cool for you to answer. So, Levi asked about interoperability with rAVe and what that looks like. So, I'll have you explain that one first.
Sure. So with rAVe, and visit, I've talked with a few users. So any items going out from Vectorworks into rAVe, rAVe sees things. I know some users have said, for instance, they've exported out lighting devices and then imported them into rAVe, and rAVe, I think, saw them as slab items. So that's the thing. We can accept in a lot of, we can accept in rAVe files, DWG, DFXs, IFC data of certain flavors. But when we're pushing out to rAVe, if I show you, when you were exporting to rAVe, you can basically process certain items to be certain rAVe elements. But once again, there's only certain things that rAVe will accept from us. So you can send out like the shape. If you're working in 3D, you can send out the shape of the item, but none of the information associated with it will come with it unless you do some data manager of mapping everything to kind of like an IFC record, and that's a whole other rabbit hole of way of doing things.
Okay. And now we have a question from Ronald, and Ronald is asking about interoperability with Jetbuilt. So uploading like a bill of materials from Jetbuilt and what that looks like.
Yeah. So I will pop open Jetbuilt really quickly and bring it up onto my screen. Let's see.
I love that the audience is so.
Yep, this is also very typical for any of our webinars in ConnectCAD. It's
Yes,
back and
it
forth.
took like one person to ask a question, and now we're all asking questions. I love it.
Sure. So so this is my Jetbuilt screen. So if I go to projects and let's see, Jetbuilt to Vectorworks. Yeah, this is one of mine. So on the Jetbuilt side, there is a little form called Export to Vectorworks. And as you see kind of in one of my rooms, I just have some equipment that I test with. So I'll export to Vectorworks. And what I'll do is you'll just generate a CSV file for me. And then I'll just open up just a blank dummy for the moment. And then I will do import and worksheet. And then my downloads. Then I'll find that file and it'll download the CSV. Now, the things that are important that come from Jetbuilt to Vectorworks are really, it's three things. It is quantity, manufacturer, and model are the three important things that come from Jetbuilt when you're building a bill of materials from, let's say, Jetbuilt to ConnectCAD. So I have this right here. So then if I go to the ConnectCAD menu, and where was it? It was under, yes, under update and create devices from worksheet. So I'm going to create devices, and then I'm going to select the worksheet that came in, so my bill of materials, and I'll hit OK. Then what will happen is it gets a column assignment. So it's going to look at all the columns that came over, and it's going to ask, where do you want to assign them to? So things like room are nicely matched. All of these things, if they're just saying don't have an automatic assignment, they'll just create a imported device data record format for everything else. But the things that are important are quantity, manufacturer, and model will assign to quantity, make, and model on the ConnectCAD side. So if I hit OK, it will then ask, hey, we noticed some items in your bill of materials that might have something in the device builder. So this gives you the option of like, hey, it's this double checking of like, there's some things in our device builder, and there's some not, just dependent upon the age of our device builder library. So you get kind of three options. you can pick something from the device builder that it sees, or if you use as is. So if you use as is and I hit OK, it's going to then generate the number of devices based on quantity, make, and model. So as you can see, it found like the TV that I had in there, the mixer, and then my basic devices. Now, what are these basic devices? Well, you see like all those those microphones, there's not a Shure microphone in the device builder. So it'll give you something with the make and model. You now then just have to add the sockets along to it.
Gotcha. So, next question is from Alfie. Alfie asks, similar to how you created your phase symbol, I'm using the linked symbol feature to change the symbol on my socket based on a record. How could I then make this socket easily repeatable, as I don't seem to be able to use sockets and symbols in a device?
So something I create phase. I'm using the linked symbol feature to change the symbol on my socket based on a record. How could I then make this socket easily repeatable? That's a brain scratcher, but I would say in my way of doing it, I mean, I would say I would set it to one of the user sockets. So I go back to here. If I change it to one of the user sockets, and then I'm trying to think, setting a socket that changes based off of a record format. That's
I'm sorry, we've stumped you.
Well, it's just like I'm trying to like find a nice accurate solution. I might have to write down Alfie's name and reach out to Alfie
Okay.
about that.
Yes, it's Alfie Turner,
Okay.
and I believe that we have his email, so I can
Okay.
get you his email after
Yeah.
this to
Cool.
reach out to him.
Sweet. All
But
right.
yeah, okay, next one is Alejandro again.
Mhm.
Alejandro asks, can you export a ConnectCAD file to a DXF or DWG?
So you can export. The caveat being is it is just going to export like it's going to export the kind of graphical look of things, but there's no real control of the data. The data might not come over unless you're if you do data manager and map to maybe an IFC record and your IFC into DXF or DWG. So once again, like it all depends on what the destination software can read, but most likely you'll just see kind of the 2D and 3D geometry, and the data won't come with it because the data is specialized to Vectorworks and ConnectCAD to begin with.
Okay, do you want to go back to our regularly scheduled
Sure.
programming
Yeah.
for a few minutes? So,
Yeah.
do you want to look at making connections in
Okay.
ConnectCAD? Do you want to maybe walk the audience through the options like the multi-mode connect tool,
Mhm.
arrowing connections between layers, and
Sure.
like give us a quick demo of how that kind of works?
Sure. So in the ConnectCAD tool set under schematics, you have the Connect tool. So the Connect tool has basically 2 main modes and 4 sub modes. So the main modes are single and multi-connect, and then the sub modes are polyline, rounded, chamfer, and arrow. So I'll just do polyline for the moment, and then I'll do multi-connect since multi-connect was brought up. So multi-connect, let's say you have 2 devices that is just going to be a plug one-to-one, and you just don't want to do the individual plug here, plug here, plug here. So you have the option when you hit multi connect, it will highlight the source device, and you click it once to set, and you'll see it's previewing all of those connection points. So if I drag it over here and I click, it will now drop in everything for me. And my mistake, I had it on arrow mode. So let me set here. Interesting. There we go. So, so it will auto connect for me that way. Or I can do, if I know, like same thing, if I want to basically connect a bunch of things together, I'll do a function called connect selected. So under ConnectCAD drawing, connect selected, if I select those two items, it'll now connect everything for me. Now, this can get very interesting if I, let's say, this is on a different layer than this item. So let's say I want to single connect via an arrow connection from one socket to another. And then I turn off that schematic. The connection is still there, and you'll see everything is still connected. And watch what happens. So let's say this is two items on two design layers. If I go hit this navigate other end of circuit, it then will turn on that, not even just turn it on, it basically actives that design layer so I can at least see it. And then I can just go back to what I was doing and you'll see the device is no longer there. So it's a great way to flip in between connections if you need to check something, but not clutter up your drawing with like, oh, this is on a different design layer. I just need to see this one connection point. But this also gets very helpful, the connect selected mode, where let's say you have, let's say, a bunch of little devices that you want to connect to one thing. So you can do something like, oh, I just want to connect one specific device here and there, and you'll see it'll draw the connection ports for you. Or I can select a bunch of things. Let me just give it a little bit of distance. And it draws all those connection points for me. Now was it noticing a bug that I came across earlier on where it's basically drawing everything out really, really far. And that's just, I was editing the socket information record. So it was being screwy on me. So from the standpoint is the workflow is selecting your beginning device and selecting the source device and the destination device and connect selected, whether that be a single item or multi-items. You don't necessarily have to have them be lined up as it used to be. They don't have to be directly aligned with each other. So that's a quick way to sort of connect multiple things together without one by one by one.
Nice. Do you want to go through reshape and reroute now? Because that, I'm sure a lot of users, a lot of people watching, they have dealt with or are dealing with messy or complex like circuit layouts. And I feel like this will really help save them time and kind of be a lifesaver as well. So do you want to show how those work and kind of help how that helps to clean things up?
Sure. So simple example, I'll start with the basics of the reshape first. So I have a circuit right here. If I double click on the circuit, it will automatically activate the basic reshape tool. So you have, like I said, a bunch of like main modes and sub modes. So the main modes of like the moving the polygon handle, all it is just being able to move a handle just like any other shape inside of Vectorworks. The move parallel just basically allows you to move everything in parallel. If you want to add or delete a vertex, like one of these little blue bits right here, if I hit the plus and I just click on one of the blue bits, it will then add a vertex to grab onto. And you'll see I can change the shape of it if I hit the delete and then deletes a vertex. So that's the basics of just reshaping a single. But let's say you have, like in the case of this, I've just drawn a bunch of things and it's all spaghetti, right? So let's go ahead and say like, well, I know this one circuit is how I want all of them to look. This is the pretty one. This is how I want them to look. Okay, great. You can either go and activate the reroute circuits tool. And what it will do is it will start highlighting things in red. So if you hold down the shift key and just start selecting your problem child circuits, and then you release your shift key and then highlight the example one, it will then reroute everything. Now I had the display breakout nodes active. So if I back up one and do the same thing, they're still selected. it now just creates a nice clean line that everyone follows through. Because I know, oh, they're all going the same direction. I just want my schematic to look pretty. That's an easy way to do it. Now, there's an even further caveat that got added into ConnectCAD 2024, I think update 4 last year, is the redraw circuit tool. Now, this is great for, let's say, you created a setup and then you've created a setup with spare cables already built into your schematic, which a lot of systems integrators do. So I went ahead and I deleted let's say this was the bad circuit. The cable's broken, whatever, I need to replace it. But I just want to note that, hey, I just connected one of my spares. So underneath the connect tool, you'll see there's a little redraw circuit tool, little eyedropper tool. So if I activate that and I hover over my spare, you'll see it'll turn red, and I click it, and then it'll turn into the paintbrush tool. So if I hover over a socket and I click once and I click again, it'll now attach the circuit in arrow mode in this instance, and then I can easily just redraw that rather than having to say like, oh, I'll drag it, I'll copy and paste it, or just manually redraw something. I've already set my spare cables, what length they are, what type they are, and I'm just quickly redrawing in between two places.
Very nice. We've got some more audience questions. Are you ready?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, perfect. So this one is from David. Can
Mhm.
you add the ability on the schematics layer to create sheet bounds? Then you could link what sheet or page a wire goes to in the printed version or PDF.
I did a schematic layer to create sheet bounds, then link what sheet bounds, sheet bounds, sheet bounds. I'm trying to like decipher that term, sheet bounds. You can link what page a wire goes to. You could set up. Let me see, because now I'm second guessing myself. Let me double check something really
No
quickly.
worries.
And let me go to example of my schematics, because that's just a viewport. So you could set up a hyperlink in a. So if you go, I think it's under here, view tools as icons and text. So if you go to the hyperlink tool, I'll just search it. So the hyperlink tool, what you can set up the hyperlink tool to be is, instead of a QR code, it will open up a document or activate a sheet layer. So you can basically, next to that wire that you want, saying like, oh, it's going from here to here, you set up a hyperlink between those two PDFs. So it goes from one place to another. So that you can set up that way. But I don't think you can set up currently arrows. Well, no, I might be. I might be wrong on that point. I know I have posted that. Was it an arrow circuit is a hyperlink? So as long as they're on two separate places, I believe that hyperlink functionality would work. If not, please feel free to reach out to us and say like, hey, we want this functionality added in. But from the top of my head, I believe the hyperlink functionality between arrow circuits. Disclaimer, arrow circuits. If you want it between two just regular circuits, you have to create a hyperlink item between the two.
So this one is from Greg. What's a streamlined workflow if I'm making multiple connections back and forth between two design layers far apart on a larger drawing?
So if they're farther apart on a larger drawing, it would be the arrow tool. Just for the moment, you could basically use multi-view panes. So let me set up like my schematic. Overhead. Let's see. Yeah, let me just go to my schematic layer. So if I set up my multi-view pane, so if you basically set up a multi-view. And let me just close that one. So if you basically have two, basically two rooms a set from each other, if you're wanting to connect one place to another. So let's say, where's my 108? Yeah, 108, for example. So let me just delete those two on here, connect arrow single circuit here to here. Oh, am I? Oh, let me see. All right, I might need to talk to the engineering team about ConnectCAD. To answer your question, it's using arrow circuits. You could select both sides of them and use the connect selected streamline functionality between the two. That might be an easier way to kind of get what you need out of that functionality.
Nice. And I know we're kind of winding down, but I wanted to at least ask one more question. They're still
Mhm.
coming in. So this one's from Eric. Can you add a letter to the end or start of an arrow connection when giving schematics to field techs working with printed schematics? It takes them time to find the other end of the arrow. Is there a way to add a letter or a number? Usually I change the arrow for a circle and add the number or letter, but I wanted to see if there's a faster option.
So a couple options you could do is if you go to ConnectCAD settings and the signal types, you could change the prefix of the signal type. And then what that's going to do is let me show it on schematic. If you change, let's say my RJ45. So if I go to ConnectCAD settings and my RJ45, let's say it's not going to be N. Let's just say I'm going to change it to Z for the time being. And I hit OK, and then I just do, let's see, clear cable numbers, sure. And then I'll just do number cables. There we go. And you'll see that numbers change. So you can change it in there. You could do, let's say, attach a data tag to your circuits, and then that circuit has a custom record, and you can set that custom record as a drop down based off of whatever this and that. But I would say just change your circuit prefixes on there, and then you could add a default circuit graphic to here saying like, all right, circuit number, and then whatever that kind of custom number or that letter you changed it to, you can have it along the circuit as well. I hope that helps.
Perfect. Well, I think we are about out of time. Matt, thank you so much.
Yeah, no
I
problem.
know our audience really appreciated it. And the last question I would like to ask you is where can people find you on the internet or where can they email you? Because we have so many more audience questions that I know they're like dying to ask you.
Right. So you can find me on LinkedIn at Matt Artigue, Mattartigues. And then any questions that you have, please feel free to go to vectorworks.net, and then just route to contact or reach out to your, if you have your dedicated salesperson, reach out to your dedicated salesperson or our team. And we'll be happy to kind of set up either sales solutions demos or kind of product demos if you have ConnectCADs or want to become a ConnectCAD user.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
No problem.
And congratulations on making our audience one step closer to being ConnectCAD power users.
That would be wonderful.
Thank you so much.